How's it going, everybody? So we have a fun review today as we're talking Transformers 1. Though I usually am pretty excited for any new Transformers content. If you're following the channel for a while, you would know I've covered a wide variety of films and TV shows related to the franchise. But honestly, I wasn't as pulled in by the marketing for Transformers 1, at least compared to a lot of other projects. The trailers for the film weren't the greatest, though I did think the premise all around was a fascinating one to explore in a Transformers film. So I was hoping the movie itself would surprise me. Transformers 1 tells the untold origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron, who are better known as sworn enemies, but once were friends, bonded like brothers who changed the fate of Cybertron forever. Every single year there are a few examples of films that come out that genuinely surprise you at the movie theater in a good way, and I think Transformers 1 is a contender for the biggest example of that this year, because I was completely blown away and won over by every aspect of this as a longtime fan of the franchise. These are the type of creative swings that I like to see from the Transformers brand by and large, exploring the depths of these characters in fun but surprisingly mature ways, weaving together this origin adventure of sorts, the rise of Optimus Prime and Megatron from D16 and Orion Pax, and fill this origin story with so much sincerity and heart behind it, adding complex layers between the relationship they had at one time, making it all the more impactful once that relationship dynamic does shift into them becoming less like brothers and more like sworn enemies. Regardless of whether or not you go into this movie having any prior knowledge of the Transformers brand, I think you're going to have a good time. It's the type of movie that feels perfectly designed to cater to longtime fans of Transformers with all the different Easter eggs and references. By and large, the story at its core is an adventure you've seen done time and time again in other movies. There's nothing wrong whatsoever for a story to have familiar story beats that a lot of people are aware of, and building out the world while it's executed, as long as that story and the characters around it are compelling enough, and I think Transformers 1 excels at that. It's about the first hour or so of the film establishes the story. It does take a little bit to get going. Once that story rolls into full gear, this movie is just a blast. Some of these different action sequences in Transformers 1 rival some of my personal favorites this franchise ever has had to offer. As skeptical as I was about the animation style they employed for Transformers 1, just from the trailers alone, I was a bit confused by why they chose to have it look this way. I was genuinely surprised at how much I enjoyed it and the overall film experience. This animation style shines the greatest in the ways that it weaves together these unbelievably gorgeous, awesome action set pieces. So many of them throughout this film just pop right off the screen. All of them are great, unique, thrilling, fully making the most of the creativity with the variety you can have with these Transformers in action, especially between Optimus and Megatron. It's the kind of creativity that you can only really get the best results of in animation. Speaking of the Transformers themselves, by now it is kind of the norm to have these big A-list talents voice these characters, and when they announced this cast a while ago, I was a bit nervous about who they had attached to voice these roles, but for the most part, I think the voice cast was excellent from top to bottom. It's so tough to voice these icons since you're always inevitably going to be compared to the likes of Frank Welker and Peter Cullen, but both Tyree and Chris Hemsworth give phenomenal performances that perfectly embody these iconic characters. Tyree superbly showcases this different side of Megatron with Optimus and their friendship in the film before he goes full villain, and in similar fashion, Chris Hemsworth embodies completely Orion Pax and that transformation into Optimus Prime, channeling all of the usual great qualities that Optimus Prime brings to the table. There's certain lines of dialogue here where he does sound very close to Peter Cullen, so I definitely think Peter Cullen would be proud of his performance. The relationship dynamic between these two is the best selling point to Transformers 1. It's beautifully complex. I loved how the film decides to explore how close they once were, and this brotherly bond they once have, and what caused them to split apart. So regardless of the fact that you know those darker turning points in the story are coming, just because you know that from decades of media, Megatron and Optimus Prime are sworn enemies, you're still so bummed out when they do become foes because of how much you cared about that relationship that they built up beforehand. The movie all around is pretty hilarious, even if a majority of the humor is targeted for a younger audience. I think no matter how old you are, you're gonna find a handful of the one-liners the Transformers make in this funny either way, but Keegan-Michael Key voicing Bumblebee, I think, is probably the best part of that. Bumblebee always is an awesome character, and he shines a lot in the action sequences, but also in the comedic aspects here. And same goes for Scarlett Johansson. I thought she also was pretty great. Of course, we have no idea yet if we're going to get any sort of follow-up to Transformers 1. They did confirm confirm that it's set billions of years in the past before all of the stuff in the mainline film. So there's a lot of leeway if you want to explore other avenues. Yes, I also will be blissfully ignoring the fact that they turn into all these different vehicles 3 billion years before they're supposed to exist. Honestly, Transformers 1 was a pleasant surprise. It successfully navigates a compelling family adventure and a plethora of mature subject matter with ease. Whether you're a long-term fan of the Transformers franchise or a newcomer, I think it's an awesome look within where this conflict began between Optimus Prime and Megatron all these years ago on Cybertron, and works quite well as an origin story if that's something that you were clamoring for after all of these years. It's probably one of my favorite Transformers projects in recent years. This isn't something that I discuss often, but a large part in why I enjoy the Transformers brand so much is because growing up, my dad was a huge fan of the Transformers franchise. He's the main reason I liked it for all these years, all the films, TV shows, etc. And unfortunately, he did pass away almost 3 years ago to the day that this movie is coming out. So part of my enjoyment of this definitely could be attributed to that. I do know for sure if he was alive to see this, he would completely love it just like I did. But yeah, once you get a chance, check out Transformers 1 in theaters soon. What'd you think of the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Share those thoughts down below in the comments, because the fun is that conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, checking out the videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.